All right. As we get everybody connected, we're going to honor your time and go ahead and get started and have others join in as they come. Thank you for joining us tonight. I recognize some names and faces from our previous leadership coaching webinars, so thank you for coming back again. We are recording tonight, so if you have to step away, or if you think along the way that you have a colleague who really should have been here tonight, we'll have that video available for you to share by tomorrow. So tomorrow I will send you an email. The link will be the same as where you register, but I'll send you the link again as well because some of you registered quite a while ago. So tonight we are talking about school improvement plans, school improvement goals. And with us tonight, we have a guest speaker, a long-term colleague of mine and friend, Dr. Karen Woodson. She is going to be sharing with you tonight, and I will let her introduce herself further. And I'm sure you will gain a lot of information from what Karen has to share tonight.
Kelly, thank you so much for the invitation. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad that you have decided to spend a little bit of time this evening delving just a little bit into the school improvement work as it relates to supporting English learners. I'm Karen Woodson. I am founder of Leading for School Improvement, which is an ELML-centered approach to improving outcomes for English learners. That is what I do now. But prior to that, I was in the K-12 business for 35 years, ending my career as a building principal of a high English learner enrollment school, and also having served as a district level EL director for many years. So I'm bringing to you experiences as a leader in the field, both centrally based and, of course, as a principal. So stay with me as I offer some, hopefully, insight into how we can think about improving outcomes for our English learners with that school improvement lens on. I've decided to entitle tonight's session Goal Setting for ELD, because all of us know that the work of school improvement begins with actually setting goals, with understanding the importance of creating a results orientation to the work. Even if you are serving as a professional learning community, a grade level PLC, a grade level community of practice, we all know how important it is to maintain a results orientation to the work. So it is with that lens that I'd like to embark on our journey tonight around goal setting for ELD, which in effect is a lesson in equity-focused leadership. So let's see how that plays out in action. I have a did you know quote here, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I read it aloud because it's so profound. Academic language is often cited as one of the key factors affecting the achievement gap or opportunity gap that exists between high and low performing groups of students in our schools. And whether performance is measured by large tests or information observations, many students perform poorly simply because they cannot meet the linguistic demands of different disciplines. So when you think about it, academic language clearly is something we're concerned about for English learners, but I would submit that it goes far beyond that because everyone, all students need to learn academic English. But we tend to overlook it, of course, present company excluded. I assume most of you are EL professionals. And so academic language is second nature to us. But if you're not an EL professional, it's easily overlooked, but yet it's one of the key factors that will impact the achievement gap. Just a quick review around multilingual learners. Who are our English learners? In their book entitled From Equity Insights to Action, Critical Strategies for Teaching Multilingual Learners, Andrea Honigsfeld and her team define multilingual learners as follows: all school children and youngsters in the US and beyond who live in multilingual communities, experience the world through multiple languages, and interact in one or more languages other than English, whether or not they are classified as English learners. So when we think about multilingual learners, it is a broad group, a subset of which are actually enrolled in the EL program. Those are represented by the circles you see at the top in red. We know that the students that are in those red circles are part of the English Learner Accountability subgroup under ESSA. However, multilingual learners is a much broader group than that. And we want to make sure that we understand that when we target supports at the students in the red circles, i.e. our English learners, the MLs who are actually enrolled in the EL program, it's going to impact a much broader group of students. So the key takeaway, according to Honigsfeld et al., is this: a broadened focus on equity practices that target ELs ultimately impacts a much larger student population, notably MLs who do not participate in bilingual or English language development programs. I would take it a step further and submit to you this focus on understanding the impact of monitoring language goals and results will impact your entire student population. So before we get into the goal setting and understanding results and trending that data in a way that we can apply it to the school improvement context, I want to just take you on a little history tour, if we will, to examine a significant shift from accountability to continuous improvement, which is where we are now. So let me talk about this shift in accountability that happened. We clearly went from a place where we were all about compliance to our present position where we are all about shared ownership and continuous improvement. Let me explain how this happened. When NCLB came out in 2001, many of us recognize that as Title III, Reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Schools Act, the ESEA. This act, when it first came out as NCLB, was the first time that states and districts were held accountable for making sure that students progress toward and attain proficiency in English. That happened in 2001 for the first time. And so the accountability really wasn't with the schools, it was with districts and state. And so it's like, okay, if I'm a school, I check the box, but I'm not really held accountable. I can just go ahead and comply with this, box checked. Then in 2015, we had ESSA, the reauthorization, where Title I and Title III came under one umbrella. And this is the first time that schools were held accountable for these two important metrics, that is, progress toward and attainment of proficiency in English. That was the very first time that schools were also held accountable. Therefore, if you're holding me accountable at the school, I've got to pay attention now. Wait a minute. Okay, I've got to understand, what is this whole language proficiency thing? What is this data point I'm now held accountable for? And I better make sure that I factor that into my school improvement efforts. And I need to make sure that everyone is owning this data point, for it is not one that is for the EL teachers alone. You also would remember that we had the famous Dear Colleague letter come out in 2015, and also the English Learner Toolkit 2015, which was recently updated for ESSA. I submit to you that this just gives you a little snapshot of where we've come from when we used to just comply, get it done, to a place now where we have to be about shared ownership and continuous improvement. We also notice with this shift came also a shift in subgroup names. Remember the older days where the group of students who qualified for participation in an ELD program were called LEP students, Limited English Proficient, LEP. And then it became ESL. And then it became ESOL. And then English learners, EMLs. and then multilingual learners. And when you look at the progression of the acronyms used to describe the subgroup of students who are learning English as a new language and qualify for the EL program, they tend to move from a deficit-based kind of naming system to one that is more asset-based. Clearly, limited English proficient at one end of the continuum denotes something that is a deficit, whereas multilingual learners at the other end of the continuum denote something that's really an asset, a positive, that this is a student who's going to be able to command two or more languages. That's a nice shift, long overdue. I have to say, I'll try not to get on my soapbox, but every now and again I run into the term LEP, much to my chagrin. I don't know if you guys run into it also, but that one would definitely be a deficit-based term. So here's what's unique about the ELs under ESSA, as all of us know. We know that English learners, and I'm using English learners and not multilingual learners, and here's why. I'm referring specifically to the subgroup that has to be accountable for developing academic English. I'm talking about the students participating in the EL program. So I'm going to use ELs throughout the presentation because of that. The students in the red circles, right? So what's unique about them? Well, like all students, they've got to be proficient in English language arts, math, and science. That's everybody, including our ELs. But unlike any other subgroup, this particular subgroup is also accountable for developing the ability to swirl in academic English in all subjects. Swirl, speak, write, interact, read, and listen to academic English in all subjects. It is the only subgroup that has this additional requirement under the law, under ESSA. The question then becomes, what do schools and districts do about it? Okay, we understand the journey from, a deficit-based sort of a approach to a more asset-based approach. We understand the changing requirements now that schools are now accountable for making sure that our students are meeting their language growth goals every year. We're accountable. So what do we do? Well, there are a number of things, and I'm sure the first three bullets that you see here are pretty much commonplace. And so we know that our students have got to learn academic English and grade level content at the same time. That's what they have to do. We know that we need a strong culture of teacher leadership, strong collaboration in PLCs. That's a best practice. We are hoping that we've clarified the role of the EL teacher as that language acquisition expert. We must pay strategic attention to the design of our EL program models. But here's what I'm going to focus on tonight. We've got to bring ELs fully into the school improvement process. Let's stop letting our English learners be on the periphery of the process. Let's bring them fully in to the school improvement process. And this is what I mean. I'm a Marylander. I don't know where everyone is from across the country. I'm a Marylander. And in Maryland, we love Labradors, okay? Everyone has a lab. I actually have one. I have a yellow lab. Anyway, so I chose Labradors. They love to swim. They're all in the pool. All right, swimming around, having a great time. There's that one little lab, kind of like, I guess we would call him a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. Maybe he is, because he's of that color. He's not in the pool. That lab that's sitting outside of that pool is that language area. Performance results, language, that lab is not in the pool. Whereas you've got these other dogs swimming around that represent performance results in ELA. We represent and discuss performance results in mathematics all the time. We probably do it in science with our next gen science standards, discussing those results all the time. And in those discussions, these data points are swimming around in the pool all the time when we are about the work of school improvement. My question to you is, where's that language dog? Where is it? Well, hopefully we realize that, wow, for all of the reasons that I've shared with you, we need to get that dog into the pool. We've really got to bring ELs fully into the school improvement process by monitoring performance results in language progress and attainment. Let's see what that might look like. So what you see on the screen is a snapshot. I could have updated the image, but it is a snapshot of our Maryland report card. Whatever state you're in, it's federally mandated. All of you have a state report card. And the state typically is the one that would set the standard. Does your state really look at performance results in English language proficiency, growth, and attainment? Do they look at those data points? Are they in the pool yet? Or are those two data points still kind of dabbling their toes into the pool? Are they there yet? Let me show you what I found out when I looked at my home state. So I dig around and I realized, lo and behold, look at this data. The Maryland State Department of Education publishes trend data in English language proficiency at the state level. This is telling me the percent of students who exited the EL program in this example for the past 3 years. The state actually publishes it for the state. Amazing. And I'm using this before the pandemic because I want to show the trend, if you don't mind. We can go after the pandemic, but I'm not sure I'll have at least a 3-year trend quite yet. So bear with me because I want to illustrate the concept. So here, wow, my state is actually publishing that. That's interesting. What about my district? Well, according to what I see on the state website, this is the largest district in Maryland, Montgomery County. They're publishing that county's exit data on the website. And I'm like, oh, okay. What about school data? So we've got state, we have district. All right. What about a school? So I look again and I say, wait a minute. You mean to tell me the state of Maryland is publishing English language proficiency attainment data, i.e., the percent of students exiting the EL program? They're publishing that data at the state, district, and school level? They most certainly are. What might that mean to you insofar as the way Maryland is bringing that other Labrador into the pool? How they're actually bringing in these essential data points into the continuous improvement process. That is really amazing. Let's take it a little further. With that data, if I'm a school, I can begin to trend my data and create charts like this that allow me to look at the percent of students exiting the EL program in a way that I would look at any data point. In this example, I've got grade level data at the school level for the percent of students who exited EL program for 3 years. I got it broken out by school level. I can see the percent of students who exited at the district level, by grade level. And my team, we can talk about, hey, are we better than the district? Or are we about the same as the district? Are we above? Or are we below? I can even figure out other schools that look like me and figure out how I match up in comparison to those schools. These are the conversations that go on when we analyze data for improvement. And because my state has been so wonderful about trending the data and publishing that data, it compels me then to line up accordingly. I'm like, wait a minute, my state is doing that? They're doing this for the district? Let me get on board as a school. Alignment, key concept in school improvement. Let's look at that other data point. So we talked about exit data, right? The percent of students who attain proficiency. Let's look at the other data point. The other data point is the percent of students meeting their growth targets every year. Succinctly stated, all of us have requirements. Your state has determined, probably within 5 years, the amount of growth students have to make within a specified time in order to be deemed as hitting their annual growth target toward proficiency in English. So I wanted to look and see how my state represented that. And I pulled it up for a county, the same county. And lo and behold, if you look at the third item, progress in achieving English language proficiency, it is published. If you can see my mouse, it's published for the elementary level. Whoops. Moving down, it is published for middle schools here, where you see my mouse. There's a result here. And it is published for high schools. My state is publishing the percent of students meeting growth targets. Now, I don't see it trended. I don't see the little charts like they did, but I see that they are paying attention to that data element. And I do believe it's federally required. I believe all states have to minimally report this data. The question then becomes, are they reporting it for compliance, or are they reporting it to support the continuous improvement process? There's a difference. So that gives me some information that my state is doing that. Now I'm looking at the school. And once again, at the school level, I can see that my state is publishing that same data point at the school level, although I don't see it in the neat charts, but they are publishing the data. What might that mean to me as a school level leader, as a principal? Well, that would compel me to do something like this when I consider aligning my efforts to the way the state is going. So what you're looking at here, let's break it down. You've got 3 years of data, 2020, 2021, 2022, 3 years of data. And for each year, you're seeing district results and school results for each year. And those numbers you see there represent the percent of students who have met their growth targets. If you look at the dark blue for each one, all means the entire school. So the dark blue, I can look for 3 years and see how the entire school has been performing on this data point, because I want to see patterns and trends. I can also look at that same data point by grade level. So in this way, as a school, I'm beginning to really use that growth data towards proficiency in English in a way to support continuous improvement efforts in my school. Okay, this is a sample. So essentially, the issue of aligning district to school to grade level is a concept that we'd like to apply when we are using English language proficiency data to support continuous improvement. Here, I'm representing to you some SMART goals that are at the district level, if you look at the top. And you'll see 3 SMART goals. You see an ELA SMART goal, you see a Math SMART goal, and then to the far right in red font, we see the growth goal in language proficiency, the percent of students meeting or exceeding their language growth targets. That is a SMART goal that this fictional district wrote because the district realized the state was doing it. You know what? Let me line up just like I do with my ELA and my math data. I'm going to line up. And so as a district, we want this particular SMART goal for language growth. As a school, then, you're going to line up to what the district says. So as a school, I'm going to say, well, I am going to make sure that the percent of students meeting that English language proficiency growth target is going to increase by 3%. I did that work as a school because I have trended my data and I see the patterns and trends. So that's what a SMART goal in language proficiency or language growth might look like. Disclaimer, there are lots of ways to write a SMART goal. This is not the only way, it is a way to write a SMART goal. Stay with me, let's go to the green. District is aligned to the state. The school is aligned to the district. Now, as a leader, what I'm going to do is to make sure that my grade levels, each and every single grade level, will be aligned to that school-wide goal. So that means, hey, if the school is going to increase by 3%, the percent of students meeting or exceeding language growth targets, that means each grade level has to do the same. Each grade level's got to grow by 3%. Alignment. So how is it done? Okay. I'm going to give you access to this template. This is a dashboard in language, and it is set up in a way to show you how a school is performing in two metrics. Go to the far right in orange where you see the percent of students meeting growth targets, and then you see the percent of students excuse me, let me back up. Go to the far right where in orange you see the percent of students meeting growth targets in English language proficiency. This is a goal. So everything that you see in the second to the last column is a goal, these numbers. Everything you see to the right is a result, right? Goals are set based on results. Stay with me here. Let me explain how it works. So in school year 2021, this school had a goal that 50% of its students would meet their growth goals toward English language proficiency. But when the result came in, they smashed it. They came in at 58% of the students meeting their growth goals. Something is going on really great with that school's ELD model, right? So the result was 58, green, they met it. So it's like, let us set the goal in 2022 by 2%. So this is how that 60 got there. It was based on the result from the year before, and it was expecting that we would grow by 2 percentage points. 60 was the goal for the following year, which was 2022. But look at the result. It came in at 63. Once again, exceeded the goal by 3 points. The school was still a little shy, still getting used to trends. They set another goal for 65%. And once again, the result last year in 2023 was that 68% actually met it. The question then becomes, what's the goal for this year? What goal would you set? This illustrates the importance of looking at your results and trends over time, where you can kind of see patterns and enter into a discussion with your leadership team, with your teacher leaders, with grade level departments, grade level PLCs to make a logical, reasonable determination as to what the goal should be. Based on this, maybe this school wants to increase by 3. They've been knocking it out of the park. Maybe they're going to play it conservative and say 70% this year. Who knows? But what's important for you is to understand the concept of goal setting, where you're looking at your results over time and you're making a determination as to how to align your efforts with what the district wants, with what the state wants. And you know what? In the absence of district and state data, you can still set goals using your own data. You can still make a move to pull your students into that pool, into that data point, into the school improvement plan by beginning to monitor. So in the darker orange, everything to the right, those are summative. These are summative goals in data. Go to the right side of the chart in the lighter yellow. Here's an example of what a benchmark might look like. Every summative goal you have always has an intermediary check-in. There's always some kind of benchmark. In the world of ELA, maybe you're using MAPR as a benchmark for winter spring administration of that assessment. In the world of mathematics, maybe you're using MAP-M or another interim assessment that would give you data as to how well you are on your way to meeting that summative goal. We don't really have those in English language proficiency. I mean, we do. You could use WIDA model for that as an interim assessment to determine, or as a formative assessment, but many schools find it challenging to implement. But whatever the benchmark assessment ends up being, we just want to hold space for it right here by saying, hey, we know it's a challenge, but it's something that a good equity-focused leader would actually incorporate, because we shouldn't wait till the end of the year to know whether or not the students are going to make it. We should know long before then if they are on track to make the goal that we've set for them. That's kind of like an adaptive leadership challenge that we'll have to work on. That's what it looks like at a school. This is what it looks like at a grade level. I'm just going to pause. It's exactly the same as what I've shared. I've just shown grade levels 3, 4, and 5 for your information. And to the far right, it's the same drill. Here's the result from the previous year. It informs the goal. Here's an example in grade 3 where they missed it. They missed that goal. The goal was 58. They came in at 56. The school said, you know what, we're going to push harder. We're not going to set a lower goal. We're going to push harder and come in at 59. And look at there, they came in at 67 the following year. Never want to set a goal that's less than the previous year, even when you don't make it. It means you got to work a little harder and a little smarter. So at this time, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to give you this dashboard. It's a gift. You can grab it with the QR code with your phone and hop to it later, or you could just type the bit.ly. You can access this goal setting dashboard. You don't have to open it now. You don't have to interact with it now, but this is something that I built especially for you to help you with setting language growth goals in English language proficiency. Okay. Now, before I turn this over back to Kelly for Q&A, there is something that I do want to show you. Let me see if I can get that here. Okay. So this is the template. I see lots of you are already on there. Here's the plain template that you can use. You can change it, modify it. It's view, just, make a copy or do what you will with it. Okay. But notice that there are two tabs. There are two worksheets on the bottom. So the template is on the front, and then here's a sample for you on the back. Excuse me, the second worksheet. Template is the first. Here's a sample. And in that sample, what I did, I have a language grid filled out just so you can see what it might look like. And then for those superstars who are all about monitoring school-wide and grade level goals in ELA and math and science, to the right of this document, I just left those grids in there for you. It's beyond the scope of this presentation, but they're really useful to look at these other content areas through the same lens. It's all a very continuous improvement focused lens. This is school improvement, and it always starts by understanding your results in the key areas you need to monitor and setting goals in a very strategic way. So I'm hoping you'll find that useful. At this time, I am going to close out. You can learn more about ML-centered leadership. Colleen Colorado, there's an article there. Got some video resources there that you might find helpful. If this piqued your interest in ML-centered leadership, that's the essence of what I do. You could also connect with me on my Linktree, just one quick scan, and you'll find all my stuff in social media and such. So with that in mind, I am going to stop speaking and open this up for questions and comments.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly. Thank you, Karen. Especially thank you for making it so easy to get that the data sheet, the spreadsheet for everyone. That was a great idea to save people time and trying to find that download later.
Yes.
So we are able to spend a few minutes taking questions in the chat box, or you feel free to unmute if you have any questions for Karen.
Dr. Woodson, thank you
Yes.
so much for just showing us the reality of everything, because I noticed just doing a course of different classes that I have taken, it's like, where is the formula for ELD? I see a lot of strategies, but you don't see no formula. And I know based on the domains of the WIDA test, the speaking, the reading, the writing, and the listening, it's basically dealing with the other core courses like the social studies, the science, and maybe you have some reading in there. So it's like, okay, what happened? And from my understanding, it's only like 4 states that have their own standards.
Mhm.
So it's like, what is going on here?
I mean, I still, on some levels, in my circles, I think we still suffer from a lingering sort of a deficit mindset with ELs and not really fully understanding how to leverage this particular data point for the benefit of all students, which is essentially why I do what I do. I'm trying to get the work out there. What I did find as a school principal is that pulling ELs fully into the school improvement process helped my school exit CSI status. We were a very large elementary school, Title I school, over 1,100 students. We were 85% English learner. Um, with our challenges, like many Title I schools have, we found ourselves in CSI status. And what we did was to implement a very strong equitable approach to including ELs in the school improvement process. This is a piece of it, but actually we were able to exit CSI status. So it was a success. And what we found was that a focus on bringing ELs or bringing this data point, I should say, fully into the school improvement process benefited everyone. I had increases above the board, across the board. And I had increases in ELA and math as well as obviously English language proficiency, but it benefited everyone in ELA and mathematics based on what we were doing instructionally. It all begins by monitoring that data point, understanding the power of it. Lots to think about. Anyone else? Anything
Yeah.
else?
So in the past, I'm in Prince George's County. So I would track my data similar to how you were doing, Dr. Woodson. At the time, I was a reading teacher
Yes.
in mainstream. So I would track my data similarly. This year I transferred and my school is it's an influx where there are a large number of Spanish speaking students that are newcomers. How do you track your data and move student performance when you're constantly getting in a large number of newcomers? And I just don't feel like the planning as far as the number of teachers that are ELD teachers are there. We have a large bulk of our staff in the sheltered classes, but our school, 1/3 of our school is English language learners. So we don't have enough people in the mainstream. And it's just like, how do you balance it all? And I'm just fine. This is my first year as a truly ELD teacher, not mainstream anymore. And just with the constant influx, I mean, it's a constant wave. I get like 2, 3 new students almost every week. Just how do you get the growth in? And that's where I'm finding, so now even in my class, I have students that have moved, shown progress, but then I have students who come in with no English, and it's just like, okay, where's the equilibrium? What do we do? How do you?
I appreciate your question greatly.
Thank you.
And I would say, yeah, I really do. And I understand it at a very deep level. The answer, not to oversimplify, but the answer lies in the school's ability to create an equitable ELD model that creates conditions in your school for all students to learn language and content at the same time. And so I said a lot right there, but that's exactly it's the intentionality around your ELD model and how to design, how to customize an ELD model that will allow your school to make decisions around 3 broad areas. The first area is around how co-planning will occur. The second broad area is how we support newcomers and English level 1 students. And then that third broad area is how do we support students who are level 2 and higher? There are guiding questions that I've developed that can help schools customize their own ELD model that best fits their context using those questions as a guide. I'm currently working with the school with a leadership team in Prince George's. It's the first one, really excited about it. But I am working now with a leadership team in Prince George's County, in the Southern area county, where we're doing that heavy lift for the first time together. And we are learning together. They're with me. I have a 15-hour course that will take a team through how to do that. It really is a case study in transformational leadership. It's a case study in equity-focused leadership. It's transformational. So it's not like a quick fix, but I can articulate what the roadmap is. To sum up everything I just said, it's attentionality around your EL model. Your EL program model needs attention. And if your EL program model is not producing the results that you need to see happen, it needs to be adjusted.
Thank you. That's easier said than done.
It's easier said than done. And, you know, as I said, if you go to my website, you'll see some you'll see some things that I'm talking about that can help you kind of at least begin to think about it. That's what needs to happen. And I don't know where schools necessarily get the support to have that intentional focus on ELD program design. You're told, oh, do pull in, do push in, do pull out, or pull your small group. And yes, but it's not really getting me to a place where I can create an equitable school-wide model where everyone's learning academic English all day, not just EL, it's just everybody. It's the condition in the school. I'm doing these special things with ELs, but everybody's learning academic English. It requires attention and intentionality.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. That's a big answer. Sorry, but it's a true answer.
It's the true answer. And as you stated, it requires transformational leadership.
It really does. It's a heavy lift. And so it is the work of the leadership team. It is definitely the work of the leadership team, which includes obviously your principal, your admin staff. Leadership team should also be inclusive of your teacher leaders and your counselors and other teacher leaders in the school. It's not just admin staff.
Okay, I have a
Other-
question for you.
Oh, hi, Anne-Marie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
First of all,
good. Hey.
I actually loved what you said in one of your slides about academic language and how many students perform poorly because they cannot meet the linguistic demands of the different disciplines. And I'm gonna, in my opinion, it's not just L's. It's not just L's. I'm seeing so many of the younger ninth graders coming in and they don't have it. And I've taught grades K to 12. And I remember when I first started teaching kindergarten, one of the teachers who I was co-teaching with said to me, just because your son understands those words you're using doesn't mean these children can. And I'm like, but if we don't use them, how do they get them? But anyway, that's off the topic. I just want to say, I love that. But my other question is, how do you, this is great, but I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out for in high school, my content teachers. Now I'm a teacher, I'm a PFT member too. So, I mean, I'm a union member. I'm not higher than them. However, I do have a little bit of an in the admin, but I'm not admin. I'm still a teacher.
Yeah.
How do you deal with, you know, first of all, when you're in a highly Hispanic school where you have the content teachers wanting to teach them in a lot of Google Translate, or year over year, they're not the same teachers. So none of the content teachers ever feel that they are capable to teach else because they've never had training. Just like in high
mm.
school, a lot of the English teachers will say, what do you mean I got to teach kids how to read? No, they're in high school. They should come to me knowing how to read. Well, it would be nice if that was the case, but it's not always the case. However, like the pushback there is, but we were never trained to do this. And so
Mhm.
what do you do when your district does not offer good training courses? Like I love this. I love these little sessions. I think they're fabulous.
Mhm.
However, I'm like one of very few that attend them.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
where do I
I'm
start?
sorry, go ahead.
Where do I
You
start?
know what? You start with the school's professional development plan. Every school, you know, if I speak in school improvement terms, along with your school improvement plan, there's always a plan of professional learning. In a school like yours, where you're constantly turning over staff, it just like you're constantly needing to build the capacity of content teachers to understand how to support Ls in the classrooms. The school needs to have a recurring course or a recurring approach to making sure that that happens. Maybe it's part of your new teacher academy. Most schools will provide differentiated PD for new teachers that is required for them during that first year or doing that, you know, first 2 years or whatever.
They
And
do
to
that at the
build,
district. They do that at the district level. The school level doesn't do it. That's more at the district level.
yes, but what I'm speaking, yes, of course, but what I'm speaking of, to add something that's additional, focus exclusively on this. It's a unique need that your school has, and the school is perfectly able to factor that into its own PD plan. A school who submits or creates a plan of improvement also has an accompanying PD plan. It's not the district PD. Yes, of course, district PD exists, but the key is to get it folded into your school's improvement plan. Guys, we know this is coming every year. We know we're going to have turnover. Okay, what is it that we're going to do every year that exists at, I don't know, Greenleaf High School, where all of our new teachers are doing X, and it's just a stationary thing? The school can budget, compensate one of you, like a teacher leader like yourself, to come and teach that and to develop it at the school itself. And it just runs all the time.
Okay.
Of course, they're very welcome to come and take my course in EL-centered school improvement, but it'd be way too in-depth. This is not what they need at that point. They need good strategies and supports and knowing how to support English learners.
I just put a link to our page with free resources. There's 3 different levels: the very beginner, teacher who's never worked with English learners, then those teachers who have some experience but want more information, and then those who just love the learning and want to keep on going. So we have a 101, 202, 303, all free resources, professional development videos there. So maybe start with sharing a link to some of the free resources, to some of our webinar replays. I think it's a non-threatening place to share with your colleagues to get them started.
Thank you.
Mhm. That's great. I would also, in addition, Kelly, you're right. English Learner Portal has awesome resources expressly for that. There are also additional resources on Colorín Colorado that can help as well.